All right, we're good to go.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, go ahead and get comfortable there, dude. It's been a week.
Hey, Grandpa, what's going on?
So how you doing today, man?
Oh, doing well. We've, after we come back from our Thanksgiving holiday vacation thingy.
Yeah, we did the same thing. My wife and I snuck off for the weekend. We had a good time. She's a frequent gambler, so she gets a lot of free stuff. We took advantage of the free stuff. We had a good time.
Now we stayed in town, and we had Thanksgiving with my family in town, and so this was kind of humorous because my uncle was coordinating this year's dinner thing. We put the email out, and he was asking everybody, "Hey, what are you going to bring?" So typically, I usually bring some kind of alcohol of some sort, and then like a dish or something. So this year I went kind of above. I went beyond what I normally do.
What do you normally do? What's a normal Thanksgiving?
Macaroni and cheese.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
But can't go wrong with that.
No, one year, but it's always like a different variation on the. Like one year maybe, hey, it was a basic mac and cheese.
Right.
Then you start watching like some cooking shows or something, and you see something like really that you want to try.
Right.
And I did a jalapeno mac and cheese one time, and let's just say the kids couldn't have it.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah.
More for me.
It was they lit some people on fire with this thing. I was like, okay, I got to cut back here and there to make it more tolerable. But this year, so I wanted to do a little bit more because, now my mom has gotten to the point where she can't do any cooking at all.
Right.
So I'm kind of like picking up the torch for her as far as like, representation from our...
Sure, for the Graham family, yeah.
So, and I was telling you a little bit about this the other day is like Brussels sprouts because I try to behave myself with some of the food that I cook now, and because I'm trying to lead a more healthier lifestyle. So I had never really been successful at making Brussels sprouts and following a good recipe.
Well, think about it. It's hard to make Brussels sprouts appealing.
It's unless such an ugly looking vegetable.
It is. It's and if you put a lot of bacon and onion with it,
yes,
that's about the only thing you've seen people do with them is they've been charring them, putting bacon and onions. But you did something kind of unique with them, so I'm kind of interested in this.
Yeah, so I found this recipe on YouTube, and it was somebody that they just called it cheesy Brussels sprouts.
So you had me at cheesy right there.
So and that again, good. Like you said, was hey, just add bacon. Bacon fixes everything. Well, cheese does too. So I followed this recipe almost to the letter, with the exception of I didn't have. It called for like heavy cream or something.
Right.
And all I had was like coconut milk because there's another guy that I kind of follow in his cooking stuff, and he always uses coconut milk. So
is this our friend from India?
No.
That's not the keto
This
diet?
is the guy that from the Fit Men Cook deal.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know who that is.
Because that guy really makes some interesting stuff.
He does, yeah.
So I tried the coconut milk because how I look at it is I need to make it disappear off my shelf. I always want to use whatever I have.
Sure.
So I threw it in this concoction, and I said, we'll try it out. Everything else was to the letter of what they called for. And so I cooked everything the morning of Thanksgiving, including a peach cobbler. So I make this Brussels sprout thing. We go over to my family's house, and I'm busy making some sort of a ornate sangria that I will never ever make on the spot again. It was such a pain in the ass to do. And it was good. It makes people chatty after a while.
Right.
And so I made this
party lube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have my plate of food, and my aunt says something to me to the effect of, "Hey, I hope you weren't planning on taking any of your Brussels sprout dish home."
So before you say any more, though, what was your first thought when she said that? The first thing that crossed your mind?
Well, I didn't really know what to think. I'm just
threw it out. Was it gone?
Number one is, hey, are we talking about my dish? Are you sure?
Right.
You sure you didn't confuse my dish with somebody else's?
Right.
And that was kind of my first thought. Is, I mean, I don't cook horribly. I don't actually cook good stuff, but everybody's tastes are different.
Sure.
So, I'm looking for a little bit more in-depth explanation. She goes, that Brussels sprout thing that you made went over like a bomb with everybody. And then proceeds to tell me that not only did they like it, but it's now making them fart. So they're walking around the freaking house, which was like,
which is Brussels sprouts. That's intense cabbage right there.
But I was told that, and it got split up between two of my aunts, and they made no bone. Hey, that is from here on out. This is what you bring.
Wow.
To these gatherings from here on out. So between that and nobody touched the peach cobbler, only because there were so many other way better sweets. Because my cousin, his daughter, makes like every year. I'm amazed at some of the things that she brings in to make some of the best cupcakes, cookies. She made some kind of a cheesecake cookie cake.
Oh wow!
And it was the bomb. It was like
cool.
Real good.
Yeah.
So and then you have the normal Thanksgiving stuff. And
sure.
A lot of family, a lot of chatty stuff, and my family, we give we beat up on each other, but it's fun.
It's a fun time.
Yeah.
Well, you did this Vikings blood, right?
I brought matter of fact, my uncle asked for it,
right?
Because this was the first year I didn't have it flown in, because normally you can't find this on any shelf in any Houston liquor store. So 2 years ago I had it flown in from New Jersey when I went to go revisit that, because usually because I do so much online purchasing anyway, it's easier for me to just sit there and just get a bunch of things knocked out at once.
Sure.
So I found that according to the website for the place I bought it at I bought it at, I think it's Total Wines. They said they had it sitting on the shelf, and I was like, I'll believe it when I see it. So I went over there, and I couldn't find it at first, but then I got some help, and sure enough, they found it. Well, I ended up buying 2 bottles of it while I was there, and it's pricey stuff for what it is.
Right.
And when my uncle saw me bring it in, he's like, I give me the Vikings blood. Give me, because I have to remind anybody who's never partaken in it, hey, don't go get yourself like a big red Solo cup and fill that up, because number one is that we call that alcohol poisoning, because this stuff is that friggin' strong.
Wow.
But it's smooth.
Right.
God damn, it's smooth. So, and then my cousin, one of my cousins, she took a whiff of it. I still don't even understand how she arrives at this. She goes, "Oh my God, this smells like old people."
Oh,
which
man.
I was like, what? So, but still, I still tastes good. I don't care what it smells like to your nose, but that shit smells good.
That's pretty cool. It sounds like y'all had good food and some good drink.
Oh yeah, good drink, good conversation.
Now that was here in Houston. Y'all were here. In Houston?
we were over in Bel Air.
Oh, okay, Bel Air,
which is that's sort of a when I was growing up, that was one of the first places I remember living as a kid. So Bel Air it was like living in a small town smack dab in the middle of a huge metropolitan area, or at least as big as Houston was during that time.
Did y'all had turkey and all the traditional ham and everything like that?
Yes,
Yeah,
we had all
cool.
that.
Did y'all fry them, bake them?
My uncle we used to have a fried turkey every year, but I don't think they're doing that anymore. He's now, because he's on a cooking team, on one of these barbecue teams. So he's gotten pretty good at smoking turkeys.
Oh, that'd be good too.
And he passes on his expertise to the other younger male members of the family.
Sure.
So they're kind of carrying on his tradition and adding their own little twists.
It's funny because the fried turkey thing. It's still very popular.
Yes,
there's a lot of air fryers out there now. That the big canister fryers that do a really good job with it.
Yeah.
I used to every year around Thanksgiving. It's a day or two before Thanksgiving. A guy here in town by the name of Gary Seeley has a charity turkey fry, and they have what's called the Ring of Fire. So they have like a dozen fryers in a circle, and they have this down to a science. People show up the night before and the day of with their turkeys,
right? And
they ask for them to be thawed because you can't stick a frozen turkey in a fryer.
That's a show all in itself.
And what they do is he pays for everything. They inject everything. They season them the way you want them. They fry them,
right?
And then they put them in a bag and keep them in a cooler. And when you come pick them up, you make a cash donation.
Okay.
And I think it goes to the Boys and Girls Clubs or something like that.
Okay.
But this guy has a very cool place. It's a gigantic barn. He has like 3 or 4 acres on the corner off of Gosling over there.
Right.
And he has a giant barn that's full of antiques. He has a confessional in it out of an old church from
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, he has all kinds of pool tables. Anyway,
forgive me, Father, for I've sinned.
Yeah, he throws a big shindig every Thanksgiving for this charity because he has a lot of people that volunteer to help cook this stuff. So he has food and beer during the day, and then at night they have a band. So anyway, long story short is that this will be the second year in a row I've missed that. I usually go there and spend the full day there doing stuff with them.
Wow.
But usually that's where I'd bring a turkey home for dinner, for Thanksgiving dinner. So we didn't do that this year. As a matter of fact, we didn't even get with family this year. It was the first time ever. It was like my wife and I decided to get away for the weekend, just her and I, because we don't get much time together. So we had a small dinner here at the house. I just did a turkey breast with some greens, and to me, it's very Southern style Thanksgiving, and so we had that kind of thing going on. But we went to Shreveport for the weekend. She's like I said earlier, she's a gambler.
All right.
And they send her free rooms and comp her on all kinds of stuff. So
free's good.
It's very good. Nice room, nice hotel, great restaurants, food, and all that stuff like that. And we both actually won some money. So that was even kind of cool too. But the big part of the trip for us was we wanted to go to Marshall and see the Christmas lights. Because I remember 15 years ago or so when her mom was still with us, we took her and her stepdad, Annette's mom and her stepdad, to Marshall to see the Christmas lights. What they used to do up there was they'd have all these old historic homes. They're beautiful homes. And they would decorate them for the holidays, and you would buy a ticket, and you get to tour these homes.
Right.
And you would just get a card and check off each house you went to, and then you come back to the town square. And if you wanted to take a bus ride to see the Christmas lights, you just pay to get on a big charter bus, and they would drive you through these neighborhoods that had the lights. Then you can come back, get hot chocolate, and do a carriage ride. It was the perfect Christmas destination. So our anticipation is set for that. So when we get up there, we're driving up there, and we go to Shreveport, spend a day, go over to Marshall the next day. Ain't nothing like that now. It was such a disappointment, man. We got there, and so when you've been around somebody long enough, you know their facial expressions and their body language. And when we got there and we pulled up and we saw, those little buildings you see in Home Depot that are tool sheds. They had some of those set up as Santa's Village, and they had some blow-up stuff in the front. Then they had a big tent with an ice rink in it. None of the square was set up like it was at the time, so we're immediately coming down off this high. So we go down to the shops on Main Street, and all the shops are decorated, and there's a lot of people moving around. But the big event was a wassail judging contest.
Oh, no.
They were more concerned about taste our wassail and place your votes. So we went and we spent a whole 30 minutes walking around, tasting wassail, and we stopped into a shop and asked the lady about the events. She goes, well, I don't really know much about that. I'm just here to pour wassail. I'm like, holy shit, you live here, right? She goes, well, I do, but you might want to go ask the lady in the back. So I go find her.
All right.
And I ask her about things to do, and she goes, well, this is pretty much it. And I said, oh, you remember about 15 years ago or so, they used to do this whole tour. Oh, yeah. They only did that for a couple of years. And I was like, really? She says, yeah, they quit doing that. They got tired of people tromping through their houses, and some people were getting stuff stolen from their houses. And I'm thinking to myself, when you hear stories like that, you sit there and you go, what is wrong with people? Somebody takes the time to decorate their home.
This is why we can't have
This is why we
nice
can't
things.
have things, is because people they've just gone stupid. So we leave that shop.
Who
and
the fuck does
I
that?
know, right? Marshall has just gone to shit, dude. I'm telling you, it really has. So we're like, okay, so I guess what do we do? Well, let's go back. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to take her back, because I'm going to spend the rest of the evening with somebody
with
that
disappointment.
with disappointment. Nothing's going to make this work. So so I started looking up, and Google's this is where Google saves your ass.
Right.
And so I looked up Jefferson, Texas, because I'm a huge fan of Jefferson, Texas. Love that place.
Yeah, my buddy Jeff likes that place.
Yeah,
too.
it's a cool place. So I saw where they were having a Christmas parade. And I'm like, this is kind of cool.
Right.
So I start driving. Now, when we came into Marshall, instead of taking 20, we took the back ways because it was just beautiful. It was rolling hills. All the trees were changing colors.
Right.
Gold, red. I mean, just beautiful trees on just a 2-lane road. And we really didn't have much traffic. So I decided to take her on another trail that way going to Jefferson. And she's like, we're not going east. And I go, no, we're actually going north-northwest. She goes, where are we going? So well, I'm going to surprise you. So we drive into town. Of course, you see the big sign that says, welcome to Jefferson, Texas, right? So we turn in and we go into town, and it was beautiful. It was like a Thomas Kincaid painting, in a sense. You had Christmas lights.
It was like a Lifetime movie.
It was, in a way. And I want to talk about Lifetime movies here in a minute. But it was funny. So we pull in and park, and they're really famous for their that old general store they have there with the blue pickup up front. Right. So we just kind of hung out. And, I mean, we had a great time. There was motorcycle clubs there, people on bicycles, kids on golf carts. I mean, it was like small town America. Every shop was open until 7 in the evening. Restaurants were open until 10. They had a parade.
Wow.
It was very cool. So anyway, it redeemed this horrible Marshall, Texas experience. I mean, and what's funny is we told people we were going to Marshall, and when we got back, we've had 3 or 4 people, hey, tell us, what'd you do in Marshall? Did you like it? I'm like, nah, don't
Did
even
you
go
have
to
the wassail?
Yeah, don't even go to Marshall. Just go to Jefferson. So, but I would recommend Jefferson for Christmas for anybody wanting to get away. There's B&Bs. There's like 5 or 6 B&Bs in that town. It's friendly and fun. We went to, I think it's called McGarrity's Saloon.
Okay.
Had really good shepherd's pie.
Oh
yeah. They had some good beers there too. You'd have liked that. They had some really good beers. They had music, but the singer wasn't that good. But it was
because he had the beer.
Yeah, no, it wasn't just the beer. I think beer would have helped him. But other than that, I mean, like I said, it was fun. We just got away. We did the whole small town Texas thing.
Right.
Now that's small town East Texas.
Right.
And, you know, we love talking about East Texas because you run into some interesting characters there. But we did. We had fun. And then we took the back trail home at night back to Shreveport. And I'll tell you, it was one of those disappointments that turned out to be a really good trip.
So you found the silver lining to
save it because I was not looking forward to that ride home, because there's 2 ways these rides go. They're either extremely quiet and it's death silence,
right,
and you hear a every once in a while, which I'm like, and you don't want to ask,
or
know,
quiet sniffling.
Yeah, you're the sniffling
in the corner,
or it's nonstop chatter at you about stuff. And you start hearing about shit that's been bugging you for years, right? But anyway, it all turned out good. We had a good time with it. Like I said, it was a lot of fun. I would recommend it to anybody. I mean, it was a blast.
So we had a kind of a new experience at this, back to my family's Thanksgiving gathering. So we shared. I got to talk to my aunt about family members we hadn't talked about in a long time, and some of this conversation was fueled by that sangria punch that I was.
I'm sure that's always a good
ever
conversation starter. Yeah.
So, but one of my cousin's kids. So I have several cousins, so it's kind of I usually kind of keep their anonymity away from the podcast, only that when I bring them up, I'm bringing up somebody different. So, one of my cousin's kids, she homeschools her kids, and I heard in the distance, I heard a piano playing. So my uncle and aunt have kind of a baby grand piano. As you come walking in their home, boom, it's right there. So for the longest time, I had never ever seen anybody sit down to play it, ever. And when my cousins were kids, I never really went over that. We would meet up at some family member's home. So I don't remember a whole lot about this piano. But anyway, so I hear the piano playing, and I happened to go in there to see if it was what I heard, and it was my cousin's son playing. And all I did was walk up to him, and I'm like, "Don't ever stop playing the piano, no matter how horrible you may think you sound, or if somebody is so bold enough to tell you."
Were the songs recognizable though?
Yeah, well,
so you knew.
He was playing. It was some repetitious thing that he was playing, but it was just like.
So he's playing a hook.
Yes.
Basically, he was playing a hook. Yeah.
So
which are the easiest to learn.
So later on, and I think he was happy to hear that it's not some adult coming in to tell him to shut up. But I enjoyed hearing that in the background. It wasn't overpowering. It just kind of added to the mood.
Yeah.
So later on, I hear the Pink Panther sound, and I'm like, oh, this is new. I don't know if this is the same child playing. Yeah, and that's exactly. So I was like, I need to go see who's playing this, because I was like, the person who was playing it before, either they've moved on, and one of my aunts said it's probably a different child.
Right.
So as soon as I walked in, lo and behold, it was her. I think it was her oldest daughter playing. And I was like, again, I'm going to say to you what I said to your brother.
Yeah, keep doing it.
Keep playing the piano. Well, later on, it comes out, we start talking about music in general, and we kind of bring up my family in Louisiana, because the thing that I like about my family in Louisiana is they're very, very much a musical family. So, and
well, yeah, they are. They have listened to their stuff. It's great.
Music plays a very big part, even when there's nothing going on with them. So,
well, one thing I will say, my favorite part about moving from the Midwest to Texas, and especially living on the east side of the state, I love Cajun Christmas.
Yeah.
I immediately was like, I've got to have some Cajun in me somewhere, because I love the music and I love the food and I love the way people celebrate life over there.
Right. It's
fun to watch and it's fun to be a part of.
So, I bring up, I told him that, because I forget how we even broached the topic, but I was talking to him about guitars, and I said, well, I said I'm eventually looking to get probably some sort of a digital piano or a keyboard at home to play around with all the other musical shit I have. And so the moment I brought up guitar, her oldest daughter, the one that was playing the Pink Panther song, her eyes lit up, and she goes, well, she's currently learning how to play, learning fingerings on her iPad on how to play guitar.
Yeah, that was the nice thing about iPhones and iPads, is I had the same thing on my phone. You can actually play guitar on the phone and do drums too. Have you ever seen the videos where the guys would play music on a train or a bus in public using their iPhones?
No,
those are the coolest videos. You got to YouTube those. YouTube those, and just because a lot of people would get what they call them, not Garage Band, they call them iTunes bands. And really? I had a mandolin on my phone, I had a drum, and I had a guitar on my phone. And I would tell you, it is a lot of fun, and they do some phenomenal music on YouTube with those things.
I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. There's a lot of good videos out there.
So when I told her that I had these guitars, first off, it started off with a guitar, and I'm like, well, I said I own several guitars, and her eyes just kind of lit up, and I'm like, well, if you're learning this stuff, maybe in our next gathering, I'll bring you a guitar or four that you can play around with. And then it goes into like, well, how many guitars you have? And I said, ask my dad. So my cousin asked my daddy, Uncle Troy, how many guitars does Sam have? And he holds his hand out. And he's like, he starts counting. He's like, he's got guitars in this room. He's got guitars in that room. And all I told her is, she goes, well, I want to hear you play. And I'm like, I said, I'm a better collector than I am a player.
Sure.
But so I was really excited about my cousin's kids picking up that and adding a kind of a new element that really hasn't existed. Because when I was a kid, first started out playing, back in the late 70s, 80s, it's different when you try to play music and interact with your family when they're not that musical or not really into
times
music.
Are different too, though.
Yes.
I mean, back in the day, I can remember as a kid living in the Midwest, music was a big part of many families. And they didn't watch television. I mean, now also to be fair, we didn't have 24-hour TV when I was a kid.
True.
And we didn't have all the channels we have, so you had to entertain yourself.
Right.
And living in that part of Missouri where I lived, you were on the edge of the Kansas Plains and the Ozarks. So you had a lot of bluegrass and Ozark influence into that. So it's like the Midwest Appalachia. And so what people would do is get together and you would have music like that.
Yeah.
And they still do that at the town festival. Even the church, a lot of the church hymnals were done bluegrass style. So yeah, so when you get families together that are instrumentally inclined, it's fun to see that happen.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I'm like you. So for me, I played music. I used to play more. And I'm the kind of guy, if I don't play, I just forget. Right. I really do. The finger dexterity, I lose all that. But I started playing drums as a kid. And because I played Little Drummer Boy in the band, and all that stuff. But I played snare first, and then I played the whole trap, then it was timpani, kettle. So I played kettle drum in the orchestra and stuff like that until sports came around. When sports came around, to hell with that. I'm out. I'm playing sports. That's for band geeks. And now, as an adult, I go, shit, I wish I'd have stayed with it and learned more instruments.
And it's funny about the band geek comment is the thing that I used to, that's sort of something I kind of beat myself up over.
Yep.
As, I give people a hard time about doing something that here I am, years later.
Coveting the skill?
Yeah, yes.
So that goes to speak a lot about how society has changed. Because we used to label stuff like that. We used to call people dorks and geeks and all this stuff like that. And we're kind of, it's funny how you learn. You really learn because that's what everybody did at times, so that's what we all did.
Don't you think this is the way that we're describing it right now is we're telling you what we missed, but we're not telling you that we were wrong.
Wrong, exactly. For sure. I wouldn't have traded my athletic career for anything. I loved playing sports as a kid. Once I learned that I can do all that stuff, I've always been a baseball player as a kid, from t-ball all the way up. But when you start playing basketball and track and things like that, it takes you to a whole new, I ain't got time.
Right.
And so now as an adult, I find myself, I love live music. I'm more of an acoustic guy.
Yes.
I'm okay with bands, but I tend to be more acoustically inclined, and that's my liking. And it's because I look for singer-songwriters.
Yeah. I
like dudes that can relate a life experience, and you can go, wow, I completely get that. And they can play the music that goes with it. So yeah, it's fun to see kids, especially at family gatherings, where their parents are still sharing those values with them.
Right.
Because we don't have that anymore. Right now, everything is downloaded. We live in an instant everything lifestyle anymore. The whole investment theory of life has just gone right out the window. If it's not purchased online or on an app, or if it's not on some kind of tech, you can't get a kid to do anything except bitch. That's all they do is they just bitch. I'm bored, and it drives me nuts.
And this is one of the things where, I guess I'm not really on the fence anymore about technology because I find
I'm definitely not. I love tech.
I find myself valuing certain tech.
Right.
If tech goes towards teaching you something that, if you don't have access to a person that has that skill, and tech is your only avenue to get that, you can sit here and rail against progress all you want.
Right.
Guess what? Progress is still going to happen.
You know, and I think you have to have both. I think you got to have manual skill, and I think that tech enhances many things. Not only the end product, but tech enhances the learning process.
Yeah, even if it just lays a foundation.
Yeah.
It's even if it's just a foundation.
Well, instead of saying, well, I got to call my instructor to find what this is, you can Google it now.
Yeah.
And get some idea, at least to get you over the hump. And what I like about tech is when you're trying to buy something, you get to see a lot of reviews of stuff
to help you in the decision,
to help you make a better
process.
decision making. Right. And I like all that. I think that it's funny because I was listening to some guys talk the other day about a symposium that went on, to where it said that artificial, and I know this is a different subject matter for another time, but where artificial intelligence is going to replace labor, musicians, all this bullshit that they keep saying. I disagree with that completely. I tell you right now, if you have somebody that has a rubber band and a can, you're going to get a dude making music.
Right.
And tech is not going to be able to reproduce the level that these people can take it to. It may be able to make repeatable stuff, but somebody has to create it first and give it the input. It's not going to develop its own thing.
And the audience, if you find somebody who likes what you're doing, I mean, that's how you just create a need that somebody didn't know they needed.
Well, how many street performers actually make it off of a YouTube video? That's where tech helps. Tech doesn't replace that dude. Tech gives that guy, exposes him, and gives him an audience of the world.
Yeah, because there was a guy.
Aerosmith found, was it not Aerosmith? It was Journey found their new singer on YouTube. Remember?
Oh yeah,
Steve Perry.
That's right. That's
how
right.
they found that guy. That's the tech that you want to promote.
There was this homeless dude.
Was it piano guy? It was a piano player?
No,
because there's one live with a piano player.
I think I still follow this guy on YouTube, but basically he was a homeless person, and so he was a lap steel guitar player. He was like a blues guy.
Wow.
So this was like in downtown London somewhere, and he had built up a reputation where somebody videoed him, posted it to YouTube, and he was like an overnight sensation. People were like, who is this guy? Because he played unlike anybody else. You know, I want to say that the lap steel that he was playing, it was like a piece of junk thing that he brought back to life. It probably only had like maybe 4 strings on it because that's all he could.
But he made it work.
He made it work,
and he made a sound.
And he made it was so unique.
Right.
So, but I the name, I'll have to go back through my YouTube videos, but ever since then,
just post it to the thing on YouTube so that people can find it.
Yes.
Just stick it on there, because I think that when you get to see musicians like that, isn't there a kid nowadays that's real popular now that everybody goes to see? And he was kind of like a homeless kid too. He's a real popular young singer now. But anyway, he was one of these kids that got discovered. How many musicians now have competed and got contracts that were basically what you're talking about? I New Orleans. You can say what you want about New Orleans, but I love going there.
Well, every corner you go to,
you're there's somebody playing a star.
Something. Yeah,
there's a dude playing empty filling cans from a donut shop out in the back, or trash cans and we'll look at even hang drums. The guys that make their own hang drums. Right. I mean, that is cool.
But I mean, it takes an opportune time where somebody takes their smartphone out and happens to point it in a right direction because they like what they hear coming from this here, and all of a sudden somebody wants to go research this person out because, hey, that's a great sound. I want to meet them. I want to do whatever.
It's still hard to beat the home videos of the drunk uncle trying to sing at a party though.
No, this most recent one was I forget.
Those are fun.
It's probably some drunk uncle, but I think it took place maybe down in either down south Texas or in Mexico,
right.
And they were trying to put this breathalyzer thing on this one dude.
Oh, that was
and
funny.
All he wanted to do was sing into it.
Yeah.
They kept telling him to blow, and he just grabbed that thing and like a lounge singer just.
So Simon Cowell must have been one of the cops, man. That guy was seeing guys that day. That stuff's fun to see. I like it. Music is such an amazing thing, especially around the holidays. I mean, think about that. I mean, you were talking about ambiance and atmosphere. Like I was explaining what we felt in Marshall, and I mean not Marshall, but Jefferson,
right?
And even in Shreveport. What I think is funny, I got to say this before I forget it. It happened to be the night A&M was playing LSU.
Ooh.
Okay,
yeah.
and so my wife is in the casino playing. I went in and I won and I left. I'm the kind of guy that when I go in there, I spend $40 and I win a few hundred or a few thousand. We're done.
Right.
I'm taking my winnings and I'm going. So I went to the bar. I was sitting at the bar listening to live music, watching the A&M game because I generally don't want to watch the full game. I just want to watch the last 5 minutes, especially a close game.
Okay.
And those guys went
that was
back
a crazy
and forth.
Game.
All game long, and it was funny because there at the end, LSU intercepted A&M, and they started pouring the Gatorade on the coach and started celebrating.
Right.
Then there was a call on the play. A&M got another chance. They scored, tied the game, went in overtime. That thing went 7 overtimes. But what I thought was funny was watching the LSU fans because we're in Louisiana. There's LSU fans everywhere.
Yes.
And there's Aggies there too. And so it was really funny because the LSU fans were celebrating, yeah. And then when they scored and tied the game, they were like, quiet. Just dead quiet. And it went from quiet to desperation.
So is that Baton Rouge where they were playing?
Yeah, they're playing in A&M. They're playing Kyle Field.
Oh, they were Kyle Field. Okay.
Yeah, because I have a lot of friends that were there, and they were all Instagramming and Twittering. They were just like, this place is crazy, and it was just fun to watch all that. And it was fun to watch that whole thing go. But, man, you talk about a marathon. You talk about guys that were just dead on their feet. You can just tell that when you can score at will like that, score a touchdown, do 2-point conversions, how often does that happen? Not very often.
And no athlete, particularly a football player, conditions themselves
for that
to go for 7 overtimes.
Well, they almost played 2 full games if you think about it.
Crazy.
But, that was fun. But there was live music there, and the live music stopped. Because the game was going, because they were interested in it too. It was just so much fun. But it's neat because the music that they run through that place is kind of interesting. They're usually pretty good.
What kind of?
So the
any
first
kind of genre or?
Yeah, well, no, it was kind of all kinds. There was a cover band there the night before that was really good. They were local boys that had been playing for a long time, and there wasn't a cover they didn't play that didn't sound good. No, the band on the Saturday night for that game, they were original. They were singer-songwriters, and they were doing like rock and blues.
Okay.
But it was funny because Cowboys found a way to two-step to that stuff. That's the one thing I will tell you about a cowboy. And as being one, coming from that culture as a kid, they can find a way to make anything two-step or polka to.
I was going to say, or line dance.
Yeah, no, that's not a cowboy. Line dancing is not a cowboy. I'm not even going to say who line dancing is for, because we live in a hyper-politically correct world today, and I don't want to get slammed for it. But I will tell you, it was fun to watch that. It was because the guys were singing like stuff like old Aerosmith type music, if you're looking for that kind of beat.
Sure.
That it was a good time, but it was a fun place to hang out. But the game was really interesting. And it was just amazing to see the ups and downs. But when the band stops, that's what it's a game. Yeah, it's crazy.
So you said something that sort of sparked something. So when we got home last night from eating dinner, and so my parents have command over my living room TV.
The main TV, yeah.
I very rarely watch TV there at all. And I'm the guy that.
Now you stream on the computer more or less.
I stream on the computer, and or if I want to watch another TV, I go back into my old master bedroom which they now have. And I'll watch TV in there because all that TV does is stream stuff, and streaming was just a technology that was just a bridge too far for my parents. So last night, when we got home from the restaurant, I had some other stuff I had to get taken care of, and after that freaking 13-mile bike ride, and I downed 2 big hefty beers at the steak place, and after then I wet pain.
Yeah,
wet pain.
Right.
So
I should have done that because I'm dying today.
And because I think I even said something about it last night. I actually took a picture of the inside of my beer fridge, and I'm like, hey, when you don't have OxyContin or any of those other prescribed painkillers, an ibuprofen in any one of these beers that shows up in this picture I just showed you will do the trick.
That's right. Take 2 of these and call me in the morning. Yeah.
So last night, while I was getting stuff taken care of in the kitchen after I made some every once in a while I'll make some like homemade dog food because my dogs freaking love, and it's a lot, the way I make it is much healthier than what you get at a store.
What do you feed them? Liver, beef livers?
Yeah, that plus it'll have green beans, carrots, stuff like that they can have. So my parents turned on the TV, and it was a Christmas variety show that was on.
Really?
Yes.
On network TV?
I don't know what channel it was. And it was, number one is you don't see variety shows like that on ever anymore.
Not anymore.
And okay, so it was John Legend.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not a big into him. But
I can take it or leave it, yeah.
What I do like, or what he was doing, and I don't know a whole lot of his catalog, but I do kind of like the old lounge singer type, like
Bill Murray used to do on Saturday Night Live, sing Star Wars. That was funny, dude.
I was actually thinking Sinatra,
right?
So.
Hey, Sinatra music is big at Christmas. He had some big Christmas albums, dude. He really did.
So I'm watching this thing, and now again, I wasn't familiar with John Legend very, very much because I see some of his tweets that come across, and I'm like, okay, here's what we've determined is we don't think alike, and I'm okay with that. It's just we're different. But I tell you what, this variety show was really, really good.
Cool.
It was at I think portions of it were at 30 Rock. And so I got to actually see. I didn't really know any of the people that were singing. But it was really freaking good. But John Legend actually, his voice. I mean, it was smooth.
Oh, my wife likes his stuff. I've listened to it with her, and it's actually pretty good. I really like his stuff.
And he's married to that Chrissy Teigen, which
he is?
Yeah.
See, I'm not a fan of hers.
Now, I will...
well, I'll tell you why I'm not a fan of hers is because she tends to sometimes say racist things that are not... And I'm not that guy, but she picks on people and then turns around and says, why do people pick on people? And I don't like that. That shit bothers me. You know how I am about that.
Right.
I'm like, come on, dude, really? I mean, if it's going to be universal, let's be universal. That's the only... And I'm not trying to be one of those people in the sense of that, but that's what... That one thing she did really bugged me about her.
And she does ridiculous tweets too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the show was... I was pretty impressed. Number one is bringing the old concept of a variety show out after so many years of it being sort of a mothballed type concept, and he pulls this thing off. It was really good.
One of my favorite ones was when Blake Shelton and Larry the Cable Guy did their own version of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Oh, good Lord.
And they shot and killed Rudolph and tried to hide it. That was funny, dude. That was some funny stuff. But no, I think that people get bored and they run out of things to do, and these variety shows were a big part of when I was a kid. When we were young, you would always have CBS, NBC, or ABC.
Freaking Carol Burnett.
Remember all the specials they used to have, and and I think that it really lent to our creative side into our adult years because you mimic, you relate to things like that, and some of those things you can kind of mimic in modern day, and people would get entertainment out of it. Where nowadays there's nothing worse than you sit in a room full of glowing phones. around the holidays, and nobody's talking, nobody's having fun, and it's like, dude, now I like to play games,
right?
Games like cornhole, horseshoes, darts. We used to play football. We used to have a big family Thanksgiving football game. Man, we're all the injured reserve was a big problem for that. We quit doing that years ago.
So I'm going to inject this now. And I told you about this a week or so ago. So I have a cousin that lives down near the Sugarland area, and I remember me telling you about his hayride thing that he does.
Yes,
for the holidays?
I would love to do that.
So he is quite handy when it comes to like working in the wood shop and just building the things that he needs.
Sounds
so
like that's how I am.
He'll build like the cornhole games,
Yeah.
and he makes his own, because he's a huge supporter of Houston sports teams, and everything he makes will have some sort of a theme.
So it's logoed for sure, yeah.
And it's like he's like you. I mean, he when he does it right.
Right.
So if you live in the Pecan Grove area, go look up Hooks, the Hooks Christmas ride or something like that.
Christmas hayride.
Actually, I'll find it and I'll post
tag it to the thing, because I think that those are fun. They used to do that in Prestonwood over here.
Yeah.
I don't know if they still do or not, but to me as a kid, when we were kids, the Midwest Christmases to me were just like legendary, because you had people again that are farmers. Grew up in a very rural part of the country, and it was nothing to hook up two big hay wagons behind a big tractor and pull 50, 60 people around town on a hayride through the country in the snow. Because on a tractor, you can just pretty much anywhere with that stuff.
Right.
And we would stop at somebody would have a farm set up where they would just go outside and we'd have barrel fires.
Right.
The big barrels full of wood burning, and they have wassail and s'mores and pies, and I mean that was a lot of fun. Now, very rarely do people do that anymore, and I don't know why it is. I don't know if it's because they're too busy, or they're not creative, or they just forgot. But those were the best times, because you got to visit with people that you may not normally see.
Right.
And you're out of the house doing something that's really fun. And it was just, I don't know. I hate to sound like I reminisce about that, but to me, those were some really good holidays. And that's what holidays are about. Well, holidays are about making memories like that.
Yeah. So like the reminiscing part is, at first, I could look at it and go, a lot of things that we talk about are things that, happened in our past.
Right.
But, you want some of those memories to carry forward, where when they're telling a story, you can kind of give some context as to, hey, before this historical thing or this thing that I'm going to reminisce about, there was this other thing. So you can follow the kind of the lineage of where things come from.
Well, think about it. If more people if they started making traditions like this, there's nothing worse than, say, there's like Mickey on Ice at the Toyota Center, and you have to wait 2 hours in line or 4 hours in line to get in,
right,
to a massively crowded place. You want to go ahead and shout that out while you got it?
No, keep going.
And so you got people that are that basically are paying to drive into town to do stuff where there's thousands of people in the way. Do your own thing. Create your own event.
Right.
Have your own thing going on. Get a bunch of neighbors together. Get some family members together. Get some friends together. And make your own holiday traditions. Because that's what people want to see. Homemade cookies, pies, wassail, fires, s'mores, all the stuff that you can do keeps you knit as a community.
Yeah,
You'll make new friends, and you'll get to do stuff without having to go all the way into town, fight parking, stand 4 hours in line, and be disappointed because the online ticket sales were sold out before you even can get on to buy the tickets.
Right.
And I mean, that's just the kind of things that that are missing in our culture today. I mean, that's the things that keeps people together.
Well, there was this, and this is sort of off topic, but when you have people that believe that history only started the moment they started paying attention,
right,
realizing that,
right,
hey, you know what? History happened long before your happy feet hit the ground.
Well, you don't want to be a Marshall, Texas, okay? Because when you started out with something and you set the bar so high and you start falling off and falling off and falling off,
right,
and excusing it on people's behavior,
right,
that's just weak.
So I'm going to last shout out. This is so my cousin. It's the name of their place. The business is Hooks Hayrides, and I will put the Facebook page up because they're booking now. So